natural ability, who are born very good football players, either because of their physical prowess, their aggressiveness that pertains per position. I think Ray Lewis is a great example of really when you take ability and skill and combine them in one. And really, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of guys that just are God-given abilities, and we've all said, God, that guy's got a lot of ability. You can just sense it, you can feel it on the field. And for the most part, the NFL rewards a lot of that. Big hits, big plays, guys going up and making plays with balls in the air, that kind of thing. It has a huge fan base. Is that necessarily realistic for every high school coach? No, it isn't. That answers the question for you. I really want to make sure that this isn't just about honoring athletes' abilities, even though we want to encourage that, letting guys be able to express themselves, have fun, but we really want to create a system to train a skill effectively for sports so it can affect all the guys. So if it were just for the guys who are your starters, we're cheating 40 some other guys on the team from really being able to learn this. Same is true. If this was just so poo-poo down to where it only worked for the guys who were making one play a year for you, it doesn't really fit the team. We want to make it so it's for everyone on the team. And that's why if we train something like a skill, it's got to be a few things here. It's got to be progressive. We've got to crawl, walk, run, fly. It's all right doing things in stages and building up to them. GMP is an acronym for a gross motor program. Sort of what I was saying where we want to talk about if we just have one way of doing things, no matter what the situation, we operate that way. That's how we train a skill, because when things get hairy, when Friday night or Saturday afternoon or Saturday night becomes very real, we want that to show up from the training we have and not just let kids to their own devices or their abilities, no matter how great or how limited they may be. We want to create a simplified pattern of movement, a simplified plan that can be enacted each and every time. That way, quality reps throughout January, the off season, all the way into August, take root, take form, and they count for something. We just weren't wearing out shoes. We weren't just doing a drill and just got better at doing a drill. We're actually doing something that's improving us to play the game. And now, as you'll see it, I'll kind of speak about some of this, giving timely cues, appropriate cues. It's as much as what you say and how you say it. Again, make it simplified, make it direct. Sometimes it's not what you say, because we've all been there. You know when you have a kid, when he's starting to coach himself. And I think we all can relate to that. When sometimes all it is a look out of the corner of your eye, or a half frown, or you just don't smile at him. Now he's got that feedback. He doesn't need an effort encouragement. He doesn't need his attitude adjusted. He needs to know that he can coach himself. Sometimes no words need to be said. A lot of the drills we'll cover today are meant to do just that as we progress through them and make it easy for kids to sort of learn on the fly. But that's the idea here. If we're really talking about ability versus skill, the only way that it's worthwhile for us to stay here is to agree that tackling is a skill. So obviously, if anyone steps out and leaves, I know you don't agree, but if we can agree tackling is a skill, we can improve it. There's ways that we can train it. Let me transition here. So I want to just show some movies here on the videos here where technique isn't optimal, but I think we all can agree from our own playing experiences, everyone in this room has missed a tackle and probably will continue to miss tackles. Can we eliminate the numbers of those, and can we get a little bit better? So allow me to put this down here. This is just some typical ways guys miss tackles. Just so you can see it, we see the athlete, right here, and it's common. The feet stop prior to impact. He wants to drop a solid shot on the ball carrier. Feet stop, and then against a good player, especially one that sees you, not the one you're blindsiding, that gets exceedingly difficult. So the fact is, even pro players, if your feet aren't alive and you don't get close enough to where you can touch that guy 2 hands below the waist, you're not going to bring down the really good players. Same is true here. We get 3 misses on this play with all pro style players and very comparable players. I'm a very good athlete here. That's a first rounder. If you don't get close enough, if your feet aren't positioned, diving, reaching, trying to wrap, quote unquote, just ain't going to happen. All right, we won't get there. This is what we call going off the diving board, right? Guys trying to make a big hit, you got to love them for their effort. but the fact that the dive typically only works when a guy doesn't see you. All right, it becomes tough, especially as the guys get better. This is a quarterback. Okay, now he's not paid to do this. All right, we call this gathering. Arms wind up, and now it's a whiff. And if a quarterback can make you miss, the really good guys who are paid the big bucks to do that are definitely going to make you miss. And now if we compare the athleticism of a high school player, linebacker or DB or lineman versus a high school running back, the same thing applies. Moves like this work when guys don't see you. When they do see you, it gets tougher and tougher to pull off. So I've shown all these poor plays seemingly by defensive guys. I think there's a true sense that, are these offensive guys getting better? I don't think there's necessarily too heinous other than the results of this play by the team in the blue. There's some extraordinary finding ways to make it happen by the team in the white that you have to compliment. It's happening more and more in the game. Guys are finding ways to make plays. Now, we're kind of spacing everything out here. There's the defense's fault, there's the offense's. All we can control is what we can control. And the big thing we have to be on, let me pause it right here, got great aggressiveness by this athlete coming up. We've seen it, head goes down. He got lucky here in the sense that he made the tackle. He had some help from the backside here. And I'm very fortunate that he wasn't injured or his opponent injured. Now, I'm not just saying that we're playing powder puff here, but I do want guys staying safe. I do want everyone to be playing the next day. No one needs to get carried out on their shield. But are there ways that we can impact tackling technique to avoid injury? And I think we all agree that that can happen. Just some quick stats. These numbers are compiled by Dr. Jillian Holtz, the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. And what she has estimated is that there's about 300,000 sports concussions a year to varying degrees. Now, this is a gross underestimate. A lot of reasons why is that these are only loss of consciousness concussions. A kid blacked out for a second. These don't count necessarily the ones where a kid saw stars or necessarily was woozy. This is longer-term loss of consciousness as estimated or as defined by a board of doctors on this matter. So, really, when we look at, it's not even 20%, but only 19.2 to 8% of these concussions are loss of consciousness. Doing the math, they did it for us, so we wouldn't have to. There's an estimated 3.8 million a year. 3.8 million a year. Football is the majority shareholder. Anyone guess who's second? Soccer, yeah, right on the money now. For a lot of various reasons, obviously the head going up to the ball, athletes colliding. And I think a lot of it has to do too, as we work with soccer teams, there's not a lot of neck and upper shoulder development for soccer players. That's another time. We want to talk football. More math, all right? 1.5 people play football in the U.S. You've got about a 20% chance of getting a concussion throughout one playing year. Now, this changes greatly by the style of play, the number of repetitions that you have to take, the position you're playing. A lot of things factor into your chances of getting a concussion. Now, it's true with anything. To get better at tackling, you've got to tackle. Okay? Otherwise, you just sort of get better at the specific drill. But can we bleed those drills? Can we get some reps that are darn near close without creating that collision, that impact? That increases our chance for a concussion because, as you know, all these concussions, the damage is cumulative. It's like the proverbial sore thumb. You sprain it once, it hurts. The second time, it hurts worse. That can be the case for a lot of these concussions as you stack them up over time and sort of string them together. So we want to make sure that we minimize the risk, thereby reducing injuries. But dang, we got to get the reps in. What's our solution? Well, we want